Mr. Hamidi, who's fishing just a little bit further down the lake there on the point, has been digging me out this entire session. He's been saying my rods don't work at under 140 yards. Well, contrary to popular opinion, I do a lot of short range fishing. The syndicate lake I'm fishing back in England at the moment is very precise fishing at sort of 40 to 70 yards. This is no exception. I'm fishing one rod probably 20 yards out but only 5 yards off the bank, another rod slightly further away from the bank, and the other two are spread at different ranges. So I've changed the rigs around to suit this kind of situation. Genetries has got a hard bottom to it, so the lead's not plugging in, and that gives me the opportunity to use an inline lead on the shocker system. I've basically got one of our safe zone leaders with two 4mm safe zone rubber beads on the end of it, a quick link on the end of that rather than a swivel, and then that just pulls up nicely inside the lead. I've taken the insert out so that it slides easily backwards and forwards through there, and it just looks so neat and tidy on the end with a little quick link on the end of my hook link. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to neatness on rigs, and I think it stops you getting tangles. And then 2/3 of the way down the leader on a bit of tungsten there, I've got a 4mm rubber bead just to stop that lead. So if I slide that down, bang, onto that. Let's do that again for you so you can see it. Bang. So the fish moves off. It can't use the weight of the lead to get rid of the hook. It's shaking its head, and as it's moving, whack, the lead hits the backstop as well. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I'm getting loads of really, really fast takes on here where I've startled the fish. And then moving on to the hooking arrangement, I've got one of our curve B hooks, straight point but a curved shank, which holds in really well even when it's barbless. I wouldn't use a hook with a straight shank and a straight point in barbless, but a curved shank and a straight point works perfectly well. These are extremely sharp and they catch hold really quickly. If I just pull that across my hand there, that's gone straight into my hand. No need for shrink tube with this pattern as well, even if you're using a braided hook link. So if you're not a fan of shrink tube or you haven't got a kettle with you, then that's the pattern to go for. And the same thing with the hybrid soft that I'm using. It's the gravel coated one. On the large Lake Jolly, I was fishing the dark green one to match in with the silt on the bottom. It's hard on the bottom here, very muddy. I've looked in the margins to see what colour it is, and it's almost the same colour as that hook link, so that's why I've swapped over to it. Rig camouflage, in my opinion, is very, very important. And then going back onto the hook, I've got a little bit stripped back with one of our stripper tools, and I've tied the hook on with my favourite knot, which is like a whipping knot. You tie a big loop underneath the hook, turn around the hook, once going up the shank, and then carry on 4 or 5 times going down the shank, pull the little tag end tight to tighten the knot down. And it's something I got taught when I was a kid, and I've never stopped using it since because it's never let me down. I've got a little tiny micro rig ring up the shank of the hook there. That's holding the hair in place, and what it's doing is it's making the point of the hook heavy. You can see it on my hand there, it's catching hold. Every time I pull on that hook link, the hook's just flipping over and catching hold. One of my favourite dumbbell hook baits, just tipped off with a bit of plastic corn, and I'm fishing that with a PVA stick, and I'm just fishing singles at the moment. I'd be more than happy to fish this setup over bait as well, but it seems to be early in the year, the fish are not feeding that hard, and the single hook bait approach appears to be working. And you'll see there as well on the hook link, just down from the hook there, I've got a tiny bit of putty. Both these hook links sink like a stone with no putty on him, but I'm adding the extra to it just to help it pin down and help pull that hook into the fish's bottom lip once it's sucked the rig in. So that's the first one, shocker style. And me being me, because I can fish to the far margin, I am fishing to the far margin as well. I've got 2 on this side and 2 on that side. That's my far margin setup. Looking at the lead clip system first of all, it's going to cast a lot further than an inline because the nose of the lead's not being pulled off course like it is with an inline. If it does bury because it's travelling so fast at distance, the part of the lead can bury in and it's not going to affect how the hook link's working at all. I've got it on a lead clip there. Again, on a safe zone leader, I'd be happy to use the clay coloured rig tubing if I didn't have any safe zone leaders with me. And on the end of that, I've got a quick link, exactly the same as the inline system, so I can swap between the two if I want to. A normal lead clip on the back there with the rubber and everything, but that's not going to eject the lead. As the fish picks up the bait and moves off with it, that's going to slide away from the fish, just like the shocker system with the inline, and that's what's been mucking them up. They really can't deal with this system because the lead's sliding away from them the whole time. And then hook link wise, again, hybrid soft in the gravel brown colour, but if I just drop this hook down onto the palm of my hand, you can see how aggressively this one's going to turn. As soon as I put anything onto that hook, as soon as I tighten that hook link, it's going straight away. I've tied the hook on with the normal whipping knot that I always use, and then I've put a little tiny bit of shrink tube to help the hook flip over even more aggressively. But most importantly, I've cut the tag end off of the knot and I've tied it on using a half blood knot, just a 3 or 4 turn half blood knot onto the bend of the hook, and that's what's making that hook flip over so quickly. So if you've got fish that are very, very cute and you know it's going in and out of their mouth really quickly, you're getting funny takes, swap over to something like this and I think you'll get more bites. And on the end there, I've got the new Grange as a hook bait, and then I've got a little tiny floating pellet on there, sorry, floating bit of corn on there that's just going to sit that up just like that off the bottom. So it's not slow sinking, it'll still sink very quickly, and it's going to catch hold in that fish's bottom lip perfectly every single time. So they're my rigs for pressured lakes with a hard gravel bottom. Don't be afraid to shorten the hook link down. That's the biggest feedback we get from when we're doing exhibitions. People have seen the underwater films, they've shortened the hook link and they've got a lot more bite. So if you're using 8 inches on a hard gravel bottom, drop it down to 4 and you'll probably catch more.